Brendon O'Connor is Professor of American Politics at the University of Sydney, and he's joining us live from there. Good to see you again, Mr. Connor. So what did you think? I'm assuming you watched the speeches. What did you think of Tim Walz's speech at the convention in terms of how it will be received by an American public who don't know him?
Well, high energy, channeling the idea that he is both a school teacher, a coach, that had served in the National Guard. So trying to round out the image of the Democratic Party as not just a party of elites, not just a party that gets the support of Hollywood and academics and the media, but it's a party of neighbors, a party of small towns, of rural America even, where the Democrats have done pretty poorly in recent elections getting votes. So those are all the reasons he was chosen as Kamala Harris's running mate, potential vice president in the future. But many Americans didn't know much about him a month back. So it's been a very quick introduction of Tim Walz to the national stage. And he did, I think, fairly well, certainly for the loyalists within the hall. But I think his message brings in a group of voters potentially that the Democrats weren't looking like they were doing particularly well with in opinion polling.
Well, and a couple of men who, of course, need no introduction. We heard from Bill Clinton on Wednesday night, Barack Obama on Tuesday. If you contrast that to the Republican National Convention, where no previous presidents endorsed Donald Trump, is this something voters will be thinking about?
I think for those who have fond memories of the Clinton years, Bill Clinton years, particularly the Obama years, I think that's part of the messaging of bring back the Obama coalition. I think that's part of what if Harris wins, will be how people will see it. They'll see it that young people again became enthusiastic about electing the first female president of the United States, the first African-American female, Asian-American female president. So I think the message, the energy of those older candidates combining with Harris's own biography and story, which I'm sure we'll hear quite a bit of tomorrow night, is part of the packaging. The other thing that's really noticeable tonight is a lot of talk in the first 3 days, really, of patriotism, that the convention being about loving America, seeing America as a place of hope, a place where people can look forward to the future, and contrasting that to Trump as someone who is kind of grouchy, who's offering a message of resentment. And that, I think that's been a pretty effective pivot for the Democrats to focus on patriotism and freedom rather than saying Trump's an autocrat, a dictator, and we're the party of democracy. That wasn't working particularly effectively for the first half of this year, that message.
It's really interesting that both parties do seem to talk about freedom, but the freedoms that they're talking about are quite different. The conventions, the Republican and the Democratic conventions so far, they seem to have played to their base. What do you expect from the Democrats in terms of appealing to swing voters? And you've already touched on this, with the nomination of Tim Walz. But what do you expect them to do beyond the convention, not just to appeal to swing voters, but, those who don't vote, like the young people, to get them out on election day?
You're dead right. Freedom is one of those words in America that everyone wants to own, a bit like patriotism and love of country. And I think the Democrats have probably done a bit of a better job of owning those in recent ads as well as at the convention. In terms of getting out to vote, people who are not excited by conventions, who don't follow debates, who don't watch great television stations with news shows, it is a more challenging kind of thing. It's more, what is going to be the particular micro-targeting? Are they going to catch this on YouTube? Are they going to hear about you get a subsidy from the government if you buy a new home? That's an idea Harris has put out there. So there will be a variety of approaches for those group of potential swing voters or reluctant voters. People are sometimes described as maybe Harris curious or were wavering in their support of Biden, and maybe Harris has a chance of bringing them back to vote or back into the Democratic Party. So a lot of work will be done because this still looks a very close election. I think it's easy to get caught up in the convention hype, and I think if we look at the polls, still very tight in the key states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. That's probably where the election will be won. So I think someone like Bill Clinton came on the stage tonight and said, hang on a minute, let's not do a victory sort of lap. This is going to be a tough election. Barack Obama was putting that point out in the second night. So I think that's, that sobering voice probably needed to be heard as well.
All right, that is Brendon O'Connor joining us live from Sydney. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.